Alright, back again, Luke here, and this is part 3 of Japanese 101 with Luke. And what I wanted to do for this last section here is kind of intertwine everything we've learned in the first two sections and put that with some games, since that's what most of us are here for. So what we have here is a very common name that we've all seen in TV shows and we've seen in children's action figures. We've also seen in a lot of games. And unfortunately, the name itself gets a lot of different pronunciations. I've seen a lot of people call it Pokemon. I've seen people call it Pokemon. But nonetheless, with the pronunciation that we've learned in our first two sections here, hopefully we'll be able to pronounce this name with a little bit more ease. Now, for this first part here, if you were to separate it, we have our ho down here. I know that doesn't sound right. With the maru, with the circle, so it becomes po. Ke, as written in Romaji, becomes ke. Mo, as written in Romaji, becomes mo. And then the last one we have is n, which becomes n. So if you were to look at this as kind of like a phonetically written word, you would have po, ke, mo, n. So essentially, Pokemon or Pokemon is actually Pokemon for pronunciation. So I know it doesn't sound very it doesn't sound very natural, and especially if you're not someone who's accustomed to studying a second language, trying to force yourself to say something that sounds a little bit strange might be hard. But instead of Pokemon, this is actually Pokemon. Pokemon. So next time you're looking in the stores, you know, if you are in a really multicultural area, or if you have any friends who are Japanese, you know, you can say like, oh yeah, the other day, you know, I learned Pokemon. You know, it's not Pokemon. So this is just our first one here. The second one, this poor little guy gets butchered a lot, and I've heard the name many a time here on YouTube. And he has a really good series going on, and you know, he's a little blue little character, and he's known for, you know, walking around streets of ancient Japan and you know, causing trouble, fighting demons, things like that. But on YouTube here, I've heard so many different pronunciations for it. It's kind of interesting. There actually is a YouTuber that probably a lot of you already know that goes by this name. But when I hear shout outs or like thanks to this YouTuber too, it kind of makes you chuckle a little bit. This is a pretty hard name to actually get right. I've heard it as Gamberry Goman. I've heard it as Gombre Goman. Just so many different pronunciations for it. So let's try and give this one a try. Now, taking a look at this one here, we have our ga and n. So this becomes gan, right? Also in Japanese, gan by itself means cancer. It's not the, you know, it's not the best word by itself, but for pronunciation purposes, the first part here is gan. Ba is our ba. Re is our they. So the first part we have here is gambare. So in Japanese, gambare means try your best. Also, gambare means good luck. So in this case here, gambare is the pronunciation for that one. The last section here we have is go, which is go. We have e, which is our e. We have mo, which is mo. And we have our n. So for this name here, it's Goemon or Goemon. So essentially, this name here would be pronounced Gambare Goemon. And I know, like I said, trying to get the pronunciation down is really difficult. So I wrote it down here phonetically. So if you take a look at this, this is gan, and then like bah, you know, like if you were frustrated with something, or you know, even elderly people, I think back home, they're like bah, you know, something like that. Got to make sure that you don't change the intonation. You know, you don't want to be saying like gone bad, you know, Guayman, you know, start sounding like Viper 29 on here. But and then with the re, it's you know, the R sound, like I had mentioned before, it's an LR pronunciation, so it's de, and then go, just like come and go, and then like a, and then if you were to think about it from a, you know, typical, I guess, movie portrayed Jamaican accent of man, right? It's always man. So if you were to put it all together, gambare guemon. So that's a little bit of a couple of words here that I've noticed that a lot of people have games for, and seem to be a little bit difficult for pronunciation. And because they did come from Japan, and they were translated into English, I know it's a totally different situation here as far as pronunciation goes. But aside from this, let's take a look at some games here. Now, here's one example of a game that a lot of people have played before. I mean, I think I've even put up a video of it before. And many people know this game as Secret of Mana. One thing that, especially if you're into import games and how this will help you with import games, is the same goes with movies and a lot of things that come over to Japan as well as come from Japan, is that they change the name on the game, sometimes they change the name on the movie, and they do it essentially because they want it to be an easier pronunciation, or they tried to translate it into something that would make sense in Japanese that you know, that people around here would be able to understand easier. So unfortunately for Secret of Mana, Secret of Mana has a little bit of a different name here. Now, if we were to go and look at this, yes, there's a lot of kanji. Underneath the kanji, they've written hiragana, or hiragana. So they've made it easier for you to pronounce it. Now, if you can remember some of the symbols that we've already talked about, the first one is se, the next one is I, then ke, N. So seiken is the first one. The last one is te plus the 10-10, so it becomes de, n, and then the same se, and tsu. So this is densetsu. And, you know, for some of these meanings, if you were to type them in and even use a word translator on the internet, you might be able to get some of the meanings. Just as an example, like densetsu means like the legend of. So, and Secret of Mana doesn't have the word the legend of in it. So that's another case where the name has actually been changed. Also, numbers in Japanese, they use the same phonetics as Japanese does. So in English, this would be 2, but in Japanese, there is no sound for 2. So if they want to say like the number 2, they use Japanese phonetics, so it becomes tsu, just like the tsu here. So this would be seiken densetsu tsu. Alright, we'll put that one aside here. Going on to our katakana, we'll take a look at this game here. Now, this is a game that many people do know of, but not as this title. Now, this is in katakana. The first letter here, this is to, but it has 10-10, so it becomes do. And the second one here is da. The third one here is ki, plus this has a little u. Now, this is something that I didn't describe in the videos so far because there's a lot of complex parts to Japanese, so I wasn't able to get to that. But ki plus a little u becomes q. And then the last one is da again. So essentially, if you put it together, you get do, da, q, da. If you say it fast, it's Dracula, which in English is Dracula. So, Dracula 2. This is actually Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, and it's pronounced as Dracula. So, just a little bit of an idea on that. And, let's see here. One last one. We all know this guy here. This is a boy and his blob. But in Japanese, up here it's really hard to see. It's called Fushigi na Burobu. Burobu. So, Fushigi in Japanese means mysterious, and the last one is blob. So, it's the mysterious blob instead of a boy and his blob. But this is just a little bit of a video. Hopefully it'll help you out a little bit. And just wanted to show you how it's related to games. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon. So, thanks for watching.